All right, on today's episode, we are here with Dr. Johnny Alexander. Dr. Johnny has a passion for working on the sidelines and in the locker room, truly enjoying the challenge of progressing individuals to a higher level of performance. He has had the honor of treating athletes of all levels of CrossFit, NFL, NHL, NCAA, Ironman, Jiu-Jitsu, and MMA fighters, and
Pretty much.
thousands of weekend warriors.
Pretty much everybody you can think of.
Everybody you can think of.
Been blessed.
He was actually the team chiropractor for the Chesapeake Bayhawks, the Major League Lacrosse team,
MLL, baby. Shout out.
from 2014 to 2017. Major League Lacrosse, has that been growing?
Yeah, so I was lucky enough to take a role when I moved to Baltimore. I first actually started in a private practice, and then I worked for Towson University. So Towson is FBS. It's like the best of the small schools. But we had, I think the best season that they've ever had as a football program.
The Towson
Tigers, maybe.
the football program.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I was on staff with them. I was traveling with the team. My first year there, we went to the national championship. We lost to North Dakota State
Wait, so you were the chiro for
Towson University.
For the Towson University
for
football
football. We went to the national championship my first year there, and it's not Alabama, but it's the FBS. It's the best of the small schools. So we went to Texas. We had a national championship game. We got lit up by this young quarterback named Carson Wentz.
I know that guy.
He was running around. He looked good. I mean, I had a front row seat, but yeah, it was fun. And then from there, I was able to use some connections. I got asked by MLL team, the Bayhawks. They play at Navy Stadium in Annapolis, Maryland, which is just like a really iconic building to be in. Blessed to be able to walk into the Navy locker room and set on my gear and treat 20, 30 pro lacrosse players before the game, during halftime, after the game. Got really close to a lot of those guys. And then I was there for a few seasons. I think the MLL has disbanded now. There's the PLL, and Major League Lacrosse has kind of taken a different direction. But I ended up moving back to New York anyway, so it all kind of worked out.
Amazing. Well, I'm happy you're no longer working with the Bayhawks.
Yeah, man, I'm here now.
I'm happy you're done with the Bayhawks. I've been done with the Bayhawks for over half a decade. We're here in your office.
Warrior, that's my baby.
Warrior Chiropractic office. We're on 23rd between 5th and 6th. Now, tell me about where we are.
Sure.
Because we'll go into the roots of how this came to be.
Yeah.
But where are we? How many people do you have working here? What goes on an everyday basis? What are you doing right now?
Sure. So, Warrior NYC is a true definition of a small business in the biggest city in the United States, right? So we have about 10 employees on staff here. There's 5 chiropractors, including myself. We have physical therapy, we have acupuncture, we have a sports medicine doctor. We have some really good trainers that come through here. I mean, I'm trying to create this mecca of wellness and health, but really with a fitness spin, because I think that the medical stuff is, on one end, and then there's like CrossFit, high intensity exercising on the other end. And we're kind of in the middle, right? Like, we'd like to see people from both worlds.
And I've noticed you've dove into different communities.
Yeah.
Like you have in the fitness space and the athlete space, you have athletes, but then you have a lot of people who are very much, when you say weekend warriors, that means people who...
Yeah, I mean, when I was trying to figure out what to call the company, one of my patients at the time worked in advertising and marketing. She was like, who's your ideal client? And I was like, it's the weekend warriors in New York City. It's these people that just never quit. They go. They don't always make time to take care of themselves, so we end up taking care of them, which, I mean, that's my personality. I know that's your personality too. That's the people that I want to work with every day. Those are the people that I want to surround myself with. So, Warrior is just it's a mantra for just kind of like doing whatever you have to do to get it done. And I think that's the way we operate here, is when patients come in, it's kind of a full assessment of not just like their injury, but, their goals, their lifestyle, where they really want to be in a couple of years. And we try to break things down for them so that it's not just about feeling better and, running faster. It's about really trying whatever you want to do without this fear of injury. And also, if things do go wrong, because that's life, we're there to hold your hand. Like, we're an ally for these people that are really going, a million miles an hour. And what better place to do it than New York City, where the best of the best come to operate at that level.
And to be honest, I've known you for a long time, and I always thought Warrior Chiropractic was stemmed from the company Warrior, which is a lacrosse company.
You know, it's funny. It was completely just coincidental and random.
Up until right now, I thought that.
Yeah. No, it's funny. I also have like a Spartan helmet tattooed on my chest that I got several years ago while I was living in Baltimore as like a memorial for a friend who passed away. And it was kind of an inside joke between him and I, and, you know, I ended up moving back to New York City and starting this company a couple years later. And it's funny because, you know, some of my friends will see me with my shirt off, or, you know, they'll think that I got this like logo tattooed on my chest. And I was like, man, like it all kind of just ended up coming full circle. It's kind of weird how things happen.
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
So how did you end up as a chiropractor? You're, 36 years old?
Yep.
36 years old.
Yeah.
So let's go back almost 20 years ago.
Okay, so I grew up in Jersey. I went to school for forensics, actually. I wanted to do like the CSI stuff you see on TV.
What school in Jersey?
Montville High School, born and raised, about 45 minutes west of New York City. It's funny because I was just talking to my father on the way over here, and, you know, today's 9/11, and my father was supposed to be in the World Trade Center that day, just happened to have a meeting in Jersey City across the way at Exchange Place. So, you know, I'm from here. My dad was, you know, a bank guy and, you know, worked downtown. So like I really grew up like in and out of New York City and was blessed to grow up like 30, 40 minutes away from here and just have it in my backyard. So went to school in Jersey, went to Sacred Heart, shout out to Sacred Heart University in Connecticut. And I started out as a forensics major because I thought the crime scene stuff that you see on TV was going to be like this badass career. And I got into it, and man, it sucked. It was like the most dry curriculum. There was organic chemistry paired with like pre-law classes. I absolutely hated it. So I did it for a year, and I was like, I gotta get the fuck out of this. Like, I'm miserable. So I had one of those meetings with like a career counselor, like, you know, those like coming of Jesus, like, what do you want to do with your life? Had absolutely no fucking clue.
So like a 18, 19
yeah,
like,
and she was like, you know, okay, like let's go over. What are you good at? You're really good at science. Like, what are your passions? Like working out, health, fitness, sports. So I was like, okay, maybe I'll do athletic training. And then I looked into that, and there really wasn't like a ton of money in it unless you're really good and, you know, you're with a team. But even then, the hours are crazy. So then I thought I was gonna do pre-med. So I switched to kind of like biology and physiology, pre-physical therapy. Went through my classes as that major, and then my senior year, second semester, I'm applying to PT school. I'm all set. I'm ready to go to physical therapy school, be a doctor to PT. And I'm sitting at a red light. I got a 12-pack of beer on the passenger seat, dead sober, on the way to the party. And I'm waiting for the light to turn, you know, green. And all of a sudden, I look up, and there's these bright white headlights like blinding me. So I took my foot off the brake and I got slammed into from behind at the red light. This guy was texting and I guess just didn't see me sitting there, didn't even see the red light, and we went through the light together. Then I got hit by something else. So car was totaled. I was lucky enough to walk away out of there, you know, relatively injury free. But next day I had numbness in my hand. My neck was an absolute trash. And so went to the hospital, got the MRI. They were like, you have a disc issue, you know, herniation, whatever. So I started going through the physical therapy route, and, you know, I got better. I thought I was better. I went back to working out, and my hand went numb like right away. So I was always a meathead. Like for me, that was the most depressing feeling because, you know, I'm young. I'm 21, and working out is like my stress relief and my favorite thing to do every day. And I'm like, man, like, is this how it's going to be for the rest of my life? Like, I have to live with this, like, injury? Like, I have to just completely, you know, your mind goes, like, everywhere.
Yeah.
So the options are, you know, what do? You go back to PT, you go back to the hospital, you know, so.
What happened with the guy who hit you?
He was fine. His Yukon GMC truck destroyed my Honda Civic.
Jesus.
But, yeah, I mean, my car looked like an accordion. I was just lucky to, you know, I got out of there and I was like, I think the adrenaline just was crazy. So I ended up just by chance and desperation finding a chiropractor in New Jersey that my dad knew personally. And we went, and like 2-3 visits, and like numbness was gone, neck felt better, and I went back to school, and I was like, you know, what is this like chiropractic thing? Like, what is the difference? I had no clue. So
what was your impression of chiropractors at that point?
You know, people with like I picture like old men with back pain, like debilitating back pain, and just like this really boring, back treatment only type setting. I thought like chiropractors just treat spine stuff, and primarily like older people with like really serious issues.
Yep.
Physical therapy was like my background. I thought that was more for like the athletes and the sports people. So I started doing my own research, and I was like, okay, if I want to do chiropractic instead, can I do it and also specialize in sports medicine
Instead of
PT?
Gotcha.
Because in my mind, chiropractic was back and spine, and like that was it.
Which
right?
it is, but
Mostly, right? And then PT, you think of more like athletic injuries and people that are rehabbing stuff like ankle sprains, knee pain, shoulder pain. So what I found was that there are chiropractors who were doing what I wanted to do, but very few of them, and very, very few good ones. So I went and contacted a few of them. I shadowed them. I spent some time in their office, and I was like, I have a really cool opportunity here because, this was like 15 years ago. So I feel like right now, I know I'm one of the pioneers in this game of chiropractic and sports medicine. There's not a lot of people that are doing it the way that I want to do it. And for me as a mentor now, mentoring some of the younger people and like having people in my field reach out to me, it feels really good because I know that for the last 12 years, I've been changing the game. And, when I'm done with it, it's not going to look the same. Chiropractic in general, is changing. But, I like to think that when people think of like sports chiropractors and chiropractors that are in the gym with you and working with high level athletes, like Johnny Alexander is going to be one of the names that comes to mind.
Amazing. So, life-changing moment. You finally have that. You didn't have to sit down with a guidance counselor and figure out what you want to do with your life. That kind of like started the wheels turning in your head.
Yeah.
Then you have this life-changing moment. You kind of see what you want to be doing. You see how this guy changed your life.
Yeah.
When did you decide you wanted to go back to school?
It was, it was.
And how did you end up? When did you decide you wanted to go back to school? Where did you end up?
So the timing of it was absolutely, I don't know if you believe in fate, but like for me,
I only believe in fate.
100%, it was just meant to be. The accident was in April. I was scheduled to graduate like 4 weeks later. I was not even done with college yet. I had been applying to physical therapy programs and getting in. And I had like 1 month to do it. So I started applying to chiropractic school also. And I remember it was like 2 weeks before my graduation. Everybody kind of was ready to graduate college, partying, like knowing what they're about to do with their lives. And I was like, every morning, like waking up, like trying to figure out, like, do I want to be a chiropractor? Do I want to be a PT? Like, where am I going to go to school? What am I doing? And I'll never forget that New York Chiropractic College, NYCC, where I ended up going for my grad program, called me. And they basically were like, hey, look, like, we really want you to be in this class for September. We're saving your seat, but we can only save it for like a few more days. Otherwise, we have to offer it to somebody who kind of is after you on the admissions list. And I was like, I think I got to do it. So I luckily didn't have to even change paths. I didn't have to take another class. I didn't do anything other than just like make that decision at the last minute. And then, I spent the entire summer just like getting ready to go, researching chiropractic, looking at some of the stuff in physical therapy that I wasn't happy with, that I didn't want to do, and make sure that when I got to chiro school, I knew that I was going to like have this different blend of treatment style. And the rest is history. And 12 years later, here we are.
So when you get to chiropractic school now, 4 months later, what did everyone else look like? So you, someone who's an athlete, you work out, 5-6 days a week at least. What did everybody else in your class look like?
When I got to chiropractic school, it was such an eye-opening experience because, I came from college, right? I was friends with the athletes, lived with baseball guys. I was the president of my frat, I had a good time. I get to chiro school thinking like, oh, this is going to be like college again, right? Like 4 more years of like, studying and like having a good time and working out. And I get there and like class is really small. Everyone's like really serious. Most people there had figured out that they were going to be a chiropractor way before that.
Could anybody in the room lift more than you?
A couple guys, yeah. I can shout some of them out. But, there was a small group of like former athletes, athletic people that I just immediately kind of found. And that was my click for 3 years. But most of the people in that room had been, their dad was a chiropractor, mom was a chiropractor. They grew up going to a chiropractor. They had been interested in it. Some of them worked at a chiro office. So like there was even people in my class who like knew how to do chiropractic adjustments before we even learned how to do it, like a year. So it was a little intimidating. Also, my doctoral program, people make jokes like, chiropractic's like not med school. It's fake med school. You're a fake doctor. It was really tough. Like the curriculum I went through was basically the same as any medical school. I mean, the bio and the science and the organic chemistry and the neuroscience and the anatomy, like you're doing all the same stuff as MD students for the first 2.5, 3 years. Mm-hmm. And then the difference is that MDs will do like a fellowship where they specialize and they go to residency and they'll work in a cardiac unit for 3 years if they're gonna be a heart doctor. You know, for chiros, you're doing all the same core curriculum, but then you just go to a clinical and you become a chiropractor. So there's a little bit less education, but not on the science side. It's really on the specialization side. So I was, you know, I felt like I was going through med school. I mean, you studied every day, start to close, and yeah, I mean, I was lucky if I like got out once a month. It was not fun at all. Chiropractic school was, you know, unbearable at times, but you know, you just get through it.
Where were you living when you were at chiropractic school, and what was your life like?
I actually cried. I'm man enough to admit that I cried the first weekend I was there because, you know, I'm kind of a city guy. Like I grew up spoiled with New York City in my backyard, New Jersey, suburbia, but like a million things to do, places to go, good looking people, fun people. You know, I moved to the Finger Lakes, which is a 4 to 5 hour drive straight north. And the entire ride there, all you see is cows and farms, and like it is like no man's land. And you get there and it starts snowing like early on, like October and November. And the winters there are brutal. I mean, there's a few hours of sunlight in the middle of the day, but you wake up and you go to class and it's pitch black and there's ice on the ground. And then the end of the day, you get out of class, it's already dark out. I mean, I was like seasonally depressed 3 years around. So I just kept telling myself, like, you got to get through this. And, you know, no offense, people from upstate New York. I'm sure if you grew up there, it's like a lovely place. And the summers are absolutely, you know, amazing there. Like the water's blue and it's clean and no humidity. But like for me being a city guy, I was like way out of my element.
Was there ever a moment where you were like, you know what? Fuck this.
There was a chiropractic school in Florida, Daytona Beach, that I had also been eyeing. I kept telling myself, I'm going to transfer to Daytona Beach, you know, like next semester. And I just kept saying that. And you know, the truth of it is like, I didn't really have a life. Like I was studying anyway. So I was there for the right reasons. And I felt like I just needed to see it through. You know, I'm sure I would have had a great time in Daytona Beach, but you know, I was able to study really hard, make Dean's List, you know, most of my time there. And, you know, I think that was really a moment for me where I had to grow up. Like I really had to put my priorities in place, and I was like, you know what, if you want to be the best at what you do, you just have to endure things. And, you know, going to Daytona Beach is not, you know, going to help you be a better chiropractor.
So while you're transitioning to wanting to be a chiropractor, you're starting school, where does your family play in terms of support leading you into your life, your profession? I
mean, my family's always been supportive of me. I feel blessed to have two parents that, you know, have been together since I was born, and both really big parts of my life. You know, like I would say that like my dad's like my best friend, and my mom is somebody that like we clash a lot because we are the same. But like all of my drive, like she really instilled that to me at a young age, and just anything that I was gonna do, like they always just made sure that I did it.
Do you remember when you
200%.
Came home and you said, and you decided in your head, I want to be a chiropractor? Do you remember what your mom said to you?
Yeah, my mom. I mean, my mom was like a stingy Italian from Jersey, right? She was like, you know, oh, you're gonna take out more loans, like you're gonna finish college and then you're gonna like double your, you know. So that was the first reaction, was like, maybe you should get a job, work a little bit, and then go back to school.
Does she have an accent at all?
Oh yeah, my mom's like one of those, like,
what does it sound like?
She's like, you know, she's like, oh, kumbaya, like she, you know, she's one of those like, I don't know, like really stereotypical Italian moms from Jersey. She's not one of the obnoxious like soprano ladies, like, but she's, you know, she grew up like where you would see that show filmed.
Like, Johnny, what are you gonna go get go back to school to pay more loans? Get a job first.
I think the first reaction was just like a shock of like, you're going to go back to school, like, and not make money. Everyone waits till they graduate college because they're broke, and then they start working it off, and like that's what most people do. So I think that was the initial reaction. But once that they saw I was really serious about it, like they were totally supportive of that. And you know, it's funny because growing up, like I wasn't like that good of a student. I was always just kind of like somebody who could do the bare minimum and get a B, and that was fine. Like I wanted to spend my time drawing and painting and playing sports and just doing activities. So I was able to get by without putting in a lot of work. And I think that my parents knew that, you know, like I was just underachieving and I really wasn't giving my energy to it. And so when I went to college and I started getting better grades because I was taking classes like exercise physiology that I was interested in, getting A's and getting like competitive about it.
Things that are much more aligned with what you're interested in.
Yeah, and that's the key, right? And then I get to chiropractic school, and I'm taking twice as many credits a semester. The classes are really hard, and I'm on Dean's List. I'm an A student. So it's like, what went wrong, right? Like, you're talking about somebody in high school who could barely get a B.
Now, what went wrong? What went right?
Right. I think that's, when kids reach out to me and they're interested in the profession and they ask me a lot of questions, they say they're scared to kind of get into it because it does look like it's a tough curriculum and stuff. I'm like, if you're passionate about it, you're going to eat it alive. Like, you're just
and if you're not scared, then that's a problem.
Yeah, exactly. You should be a little nervous because it is a profession. We do want to weed out the bad ones, right? Yeah. So I'm happy it was competitive. I'm happy I busted my ass. I'm like, I don't know if I could do it again, but now that I'm on the other side of it, man, I wish it was harder. Like, it should be. Like, it should be really, really tough to do what we do because we are blessed to work with some of the best patients in the world.
So you graduate, you go from 5 hours north of New York, New Jersey to now 5 hours south of New York, New Jersey. Tell me about that.
So going back to what I was saying earlier, about
fate.
Well, when I was becoming a chiropractor and I knew that I wanted to work in sports and treat athletes, there was not a lot of mentors who were doing that and people that I could look at and say, that's who I want to be in 5 years. So the options were limited, and I was just deciding on, the fact that I wanted to be working underneath the best of the best. I didn't care where the job was. I was looking all over the country, and there was a really good chiropractic team in Baltimore that was treating guys on the Ravens, the Orioles, Towson, Loyola, Hopkins. So, I didn't really plan on moving to Baltimore. It's not like I woke up one day and was like, I can't wait to live in Baltimore, Maryland, but I found this opportunity there and I was like, I have to do it. And I went there for 4 years and made some of the best friends of my life. I love Baltimore, but for me, like, New York City was always calling me home. Like, I just knew that eventually, like, when I started my own thing, it was going to have to be here or nowhere. And so people told me I was insane. Like, do you know how expensive New York City is? Do you know how many chiropractors work in New York City? Do you know how hard it is to run a business in New York City? And I was like, yeah, I know, but like, I've never taken the easy route. Like, I want that. I want to go up against the best and win.
So Warrior Chiropractic was a New York or nowhere mindset.
For sure, yeah. There was nowhere else that this was going to happen, and I was going to be happy.
You moved back to New York. You start out working on 19th and 5th?
Yep.
What was the name of the facility?
NYPT.
How'd you end up at NYPT?
There was a guy I went to school with back at NYCC who was a year ahead of me, and he had been working in New York City. So when I was looking to relocate back here, I was kind of looking for jobs, and I was just kind of reaching out to people, seeing if anyone was hiring.
Mainly in your network, or kind of just like on a message board? How does that work?
That's the thing is, like, I knew I wanted to start my own thing, but I couldn't just move back here and hang up a sign and have patience because nobody knew who I was. You have to build that reputation up.
It's also not smart. It's also, think about looking back. Thank God you didn't do that.
Right. Like, how long does it take to like get a reputation and get busy and meet the right people? Years. So I was deciding on the fact that I was going to work for somebody else and hope that it grew into something bigger. And if it didn't, I would just start my own thing. So he reached out to me and was like, hey, there's a PT that I know who would bring in a chiropractor if you're willing. So, I came and met him, and I was like, you know what, like, at least I'm gonna have some freedom. Like, he seemed like a pretty, chill boss, and he seemed like he understood that I was good and that he was.
Practice had great reviews. Yeah. It was a great space.
Yeah.
The location was great.
Yeah.
Was there any negatives about going to work there?
I mean, so, I was the only chiropractor there. I was working for.
That sounds awesome.
For physical therapy group, which, it was great in the beginning. It just, it came down to two things. Number one, financial stuff. Like, I was crushing it for them and not really seeing much of it on the back end.
Is that common for someone who's as fresh out of school?
Oh yeah, but that's the thing is I was 4 years out and I had a really good reputation and I knew I was good, so I just immediately was like, I need to be making more money. But you don't just say I want more money, you got to prove it. So I stayed there for a year and I just was like, here's the books, here's what I'm doing, here's what I'm bringing in, everybody's here to see me. And then it hit me. I was like, everyone's here to see me. Why waste another day doing it for somebody else? And so I approached them and I said, listen, I really want to start my own thing. I'm happy to kind of stay on here part-time and help you guys transition me out or hire a new chiropractor. So That's what we did. And I started Warrior as like a side hustle. And it was 1 day a week on my day off. I would go down to East Village, treat people, and then run back to the office up here. I did that for about a month, and I was like, the hell am I doing?
Yep.
And then I just went, and that was it.
Moved the entire practice to like a 400 square foot.
Small, cozy
if that.
East Village, Tompkins Square Park. Between 10th and A. And I started there. I really started building the brand.
How much was rent while you were there?
I split the space with my friend who's a physical therapist.
Yep.
So I think our combined rent was like $3 or $4K a month, maybe like $3 something. So with utilities and everything, I was paying about $2K a month. And that was in 2018.
Yep.
2018. Yeah. And so I was there for 2 years, and I felt like crushing it. I was like, that's when I met you, right?
Yep.
We were doing it, and
I met you before that.
Yeah, I met you at NYPT.
Yeah, I met you at NYPT, and then you moved down there, and then you're like, you know what? I have this 400 square foot space. I'm crushing it. I'm literally working from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Yeah.
I need more space.
Yeah.
Let's start looking at more. Somebody started looking at bigger spaces.
Yeah, you and I remember we spent like most of the end of 2019 running around the city looking at different offices and opportunities.
You find a new space in this amazing location. I mean, first I think we were almost going to move on that space on 27th and Broadway.
27th and Broadway.
Thank
yep.
God you didn't take that space, because right now you're on 23rd between 5th and 6th. What was the build like here?
Yeah.
And actually, let's rewind.
Do you remember how that happened? That was another thing for me with Fate was, we finally found this space that I decided was going to be mine, and we
Dance Body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we were working out the deal, and again, you never forget things like this, but it was March 15th, 2020. They handed me the lease, and I was days away from signing it. And the landlord just wouldn't budge. He wouldn't give me free rent. He wouldn't give me time to build out. I mean, I had the lease. I was days away from signing it. And we were just, that one last thing, I was like, give me one more month of free rent or a couple $1,000s here.
We were literally 99% of the way about to sign.
I had the pen and paper. It was on my desk. I was ready to sign it. And you were like, well, it's, so we weren't stalling, but we were like very eager to make a deal happen.
Yeah, and I remember their broker was very non-communicative.
Yeah.
And I remember reaching out directly to the owner because their broker was not communicating.
Seems like yesterday. That was crazy.
Remember? Oh, now I'm remembering.
Yeah. They wouldn't.
That's funny. I came on set today and didn't even think about that.
Yeah. You and I were like,
how perfect timing it was that he wasn't communicating. And then the owner tells him, I have him hitting me up. What are you doing?
Yep. Oh, yeah. I remember that conversation we had yesterday. And I remember the date because it was the Wednesday or Thursday of that week. And that Saturday or Sunday was St. Patrick's Day, the 17th. And I remember because COVID was like not a thing yet, but it was becoming a thing, especially in New York City and San Fran.
Day by day, it was like it was like creeping up.
And I remember, about to sign this lease and just commit to this office space. And I'll never forget it because that weekend, the bars in New York City started shutting down because of COVID. Like they didn't want St. Patty's Day parties. So my friends in New York City were going out to Long Island and New Jersey to party for St. Patty's Day because that's where things were open. But that's how early on we were in COVID. Like there wasn't even this real scare yet. And I was like, ooh, maybe I'll just wait till next week to sign this lease because like I don't know what's happening. Like the coffee shop next to my office just basically closed their doors and said no one come here. So I was like, I can't sign a lease right now. Like what's about to happen? It was that close. It was like March 15th or 14th. And the next week, like the entire world shuts down and New York City is a ghost town. I'm here by myself. My patients are gone. The office is closed. And then I was like, oh, I can't sign the lease now.
And I remember they were then following up like, so are you going to sign?
Yeah, they were like, hey,
we're going to sign. There was a stay-at-home order.
I'll never forget the owner there called me and he was like, construction is considered essential. So now, if you want to sign and do your build out while everything else is closed because nobody else is working. And I still was considering it. I was like, well, that's actually, that makes sense, right? Like when we open up again, my office will be done, this beautiful space. I was thinking like, you know what, like maybe like a month or two without people coming in would be the ideal time to do a build out.
And we didn't know what the timing was going to be like.
God,
we were like,
I mean, nobody did, right? If you and I knew,
I remember
doing this for years, we would be billionaires.
I remember I looked to get TMB masks made.
Yep.
And just because like, it's going to be about 2 months, like, because, I'm all about fucking branding. And I looked and it was like, the masks are gonna take about 90 days to get here. 70 to 90 days. I do the math. I'm like, May, June, July. I'm not going to get it till like the end of the summer. Nobody's going to be wearing masks by the end of the summer. Yeah. Little did we know. I mean, it was like went till the end of the following summer.
I mean, how could we know? Like, obviously, we were living day by day, like news update by news update. I mean, that was probably like one of the hardest times in my life, but like weirdly, like one of the best times. Like I remember running around New York City, nothing was open. I've got videos on my phone. There was nobody on the streets. I remember it was like Lord of the Flies. It was like trying to figure out like who was still here, who had an apartment we could hang out. Like people were like, not willing to gather. So you had to be like cool with one person. And then it was like, did you hang out with somebody yesterday? Like, it was like a really weird, like, don't ask, don't tell thing. And I remember going up to Times Square on a city bike, and I was like, I got to see, like, Times Square. And I have videos on my phone. There's nobody in Times Square. I mean, I don't know if anybody will ever see Times Square that empty as I did. And I remember thinking, like, what a cool opportunity to get a photo. There wasn't even somebody there to take my picture. I have selfies on my phone because I could not find somebody on the street in Times Square, New York City, to take a photo of me. That's I mean, unreal to believe, right? I mean, think about what Times Square looks like now and always. I couldn't find one person. There was police officers that were in their cars with the windows rolled up, didn't want to be bothered, and there was a few crackheads, that I was like, maybe I'm not gonna ask them for a photo op, but that was it. It was just me, the crackheads, and NYPD.
So how did COVID, whether positive or negative, how did COVID affect your business?
I mean, look, we were lucky to survive COVID. What I do is an in-person thing. It's very hard to adapt to a mobile lifestyle.
Can you do your job? Have you ever done your job without touching somebody?
I tried. I mean, we did like virtual, stuff where I was working with people's exercises, and it was more like personal training.
Kind of like on Zoom, like giving people like PT instruction.
Yeah, like we were going over their exercises, and they were telling me about like the crazy workouts at home they were doing, and just we were trying to invent ways for them to like work out without equipment. But it was really stressful. I mean, I lost about 50 to 75% of my patients in 2020 because everybody just left New York, and there was people that never came back. There were patients that I had been treating for 2-3 years that were coming in every week that I haven't seen since, that just left. And I understand, like, people were over it, and New York got hit right away and the hardest, and it took the longest to come back. So I think a lot of people gave up on New York City. They went to somewhere else with more space and outdoor, I get it. So for me as a business owner, it was devastating. But the fire inside of me, I just, I was thinking, okay, like, we're going to survive. We're going to endure. Thank God I had 2 years under my belt of seeing people and making money and stuff, and thank God I didn't sign that office lease, because I would have been in for like thousands of dollars a month while nobody was there. So in a weird way, like, it all worked out. I think it was God testing me, how bad do you want to do this? Like, are you willing to commit the way that you said you are? And I spent that year just really focusing on, what I was going to do that day, waking up every day, pretending like, things weren't going crazy, not watching too much of the news. I would get up, I would have my routine, I would go work out, I would go for my run, I would pick a new place in the city that I wanted to explore that I'd never seen before, and I would run there and sit and take photos, because it was a ghost town. I ran down Fifth Ave in the middle of the yellow lines for 2 miles, because I just was like, when else am I going to do this in my life, I went to Brooklyn and to Astoria and, places that I haven't been really back since, because like during that time, it was just so easy to get around. Like it was like every day was just kind of like what are we going to do? But I felt very, very, committed to putting in positive hours every day, whether I was connecting with an old friend, playing poker on Zoom with some guys. I mean, we survived, but yeah, I remember trying to find like groceries sometimes and like, where could I go? And like, I remember in the East Village, I was trying to find like a coffee shop that would just give me like a hot coffee, just because I was bored and wanted to like go get a hot coffee. And I tried like 8 places before I found one that was open. They had like a little window and like, stuck the coffee outside. But again, like, I mean, I hope to God, like, I hope we never see that again.
No,
but
we will. It'll never get that catastrophic.
Yeah, you'd hope so, right? But I mean, for me, I think that was just a oddly, pivotal time in my life. And at the end of that year, I found this space, we moved in, and I was ready to go. Like, I've never been more hungry.
How long was the ramp up for this space?
Signed in January, build out started Valentine's Day, and we opened April 1st. So it was about 2-3 months of just like getting this space ready to go. We moved in, and then I think the first year here really was a lot of like growing pains and things that we needed to change. New EMR, new service, new staff. We had some turnover in the beginning. Like I think it took a year to really work out the kinks. But I think since really the beginning of 2022, I think we've been a machine. And
100%. So you have an amazing staff. When I come here, I go see Alex.
Yeah, thanks.
I love Alex.
He's great.
I love Alex, and he's the one who works on me now.
Yeah.
So it's the people that are in the house that keep people coming in.
Yeah.
But getting them in the door first is a matter of them wanting to come work with Dr. Johnny. Now let's rewind.
Yep.
Pre-COVID, you, not just from your great branding, but you put your name on the map from being on a TV show.
Oh yeah.
So, right? I'd say you got a lot of notoriety. You got in front of millions of people because you made it to the finals on
Temptation Island.
Temptation Island.
Yeah.
The original reboot.
Yep.
Tell us about that.
Tell
us about Temptation Island and what it did for your business.
It was kind of like this double-edged sword. When I got recruited for Temptation Island, I didn't really understand what I was getting into. Thought it was a really cool opportunity. They asked me if I wanted to go to LA, go to a casting process, meet some people. I was like, sure. Free trip to LA, went, had a great time. Didn't really understand like the workings of like television, but I was like, why not like see where this goes? And then they called me the next day and they were like, hey, we want to send you to Hawaii in 2 weeks. Like I was like, oh, I gotta get in shape. Like I have 2 weeks, right? Like I can't like start my diet now. But I was like, why not? I had at that point I had told the guy I was working for that I was about to go out on my own. So it was weird because the timing, like I don't know if I could have done it if Warrior I would have had to shut my business down for a month and not make any money. Like I don't know if but because I was like kind of transitioning out, I just did it. And I was like, you know what, when in my life am I gonna be able to do this opportunity, right?
Well, it was also great that you had already started the Warrior brand.
Yep.
Because you kind of on social media had started to embody Warrior, Dr. Johnny, Warrior Chiro.
I knew where I was going with it, and I knew like my 1-year plan, my 5-year plan. But yeah, I got on Temptation Island, and I met some really great people. Got to date this girl for a little bit, and some really cool experiences. In Maui, it's absolutely gorgeous. Hawaii is like probably one of the most beautiful places on earth. And I just kind of took it for what it was. Afterwards, I came back to New York City, couldn't talk about it.
Well, how was it being able to communicate while you're on the island?
What communication? The plane lands and somebody picks you up in a Sprinter van, and they bring you to a hotel. They put you in a hotel room.
Are you landing? Are you on the plane by yourself?
Yeah.
Are there other people?
No, there were people on the plane, but I didn't know them.
Got it.
I flew to San Francisco, and then I had a layover, and I waited there, and I got on a plane from San Fran to Maui. So there was 2 other guys on my plane from San Fran to Maui that were going to do the show with me, but we didn't know each other.
Yeah.
And they didn't. So it wasn't until I got in the van, I jump in the van, and there's another guy sitting there. And he's like, and it's Val. He's like, hey, I'm Val. Nice to meet you. Because the New York guys, they flew on the same flight. And there's another guy that gets in the van. So, we were all just sitting in this like big, like, it's like one of those like kidnapping vans, like those big white vans. But like, we're like sitting
I'm picturing you and Val.
Yeah.
He's in the van and you getting in there. You looking at each other. You're like,
yeah,
we're in fucking Hawaii.
Yeah. We're like, what are we doing here? And so we're getting to know each other, and then like another guy shows up, and then another guy. So we're like, how many guys are getting in this van? So eventually they like bust like 5 of us to a hotel, put us in a room, and then I'm thinking like, okay, like a couple days like till we get things going. They knock on the door that night. They're like, we need your cell phone, your laptop, your smartwatch. I'm like, I just got here. They're like, yeah, we're gonna take everything from you, and then we're gonna let you know when things are happening. I was like, what do you mean? Like, I don't even say goodbye to people. Like, I have to like close my email. Like, I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm here and thinking I'm going to walk around Hawaii the next day with like Instagram stories and like, you know what I mean? Like take a tour and they're like, no, we need all your stuff right now. They searched my bag. They took like anything that looked like electronic, if you're on like any prescription medication, like I take something to go to sleep at night. They're like, we're taking this, and when you want it, you'll give you 1 pill at a time. I was like, what is this? Like, I felt like I was in prison.
Yep.
And then, so you're living in a hotel room with these guys. You have no idea what time you're doing what. You don't even know what time of day it is. They're just like watching TV, then they bring you by the pool. So you're just, I mean, it's a bonding experience. So you're there with these other guys that are all going through the same thing. And then after a couple days of that, they got everything ready. We moved into this mansion in beautiful hills of Hawaii. And it was 12 guys, all single guys, and 4 girls. And the 4 girls each had a boyfriend. So the idea of the show, which I didn't really understand the concept quite, like they said, hey, you're going to be a single guy and there's going to be people there that are in relationships. And I'm just thinking like real world style, like, you know, like it's open dating. I don't know. The girlfriends were in the house with us and their boyfriends were in another house with 12 like very attractive girls. And the concept of the show is like, see if you cheat on your significant other. And then they show clips to your significant other of what you're doing in the house to kind of fuel that fire. So yeah, it was a wild experience, but you know, it was a lot of fun, and I would do it again. It was like one of those things where like I don't regret it.
Maybe if they have the Temptation Island, like the challenge,
Yeah,
like they do
I
in
mean,
real world.
I feel like, you know, people will say like, would you do reality TV again?
But you made it to the finals.
Yeah, I think that was just about the connection I had with.
It was fun.
Girls. Yeah,
it was fun.
We
I mean, going to the watch parties.
Yeah.
When it was airing.
Remember that?
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, we did. I mean, that's the thing. Like, if you know me, like, my favorite thing to do is like get people together. So
yeah, and it's fun to like watch it and then like laugh about it in the future.
yeah, I mean, you know, we had parties at Sidebar. Remember, we put up like projector screen and put the episode on, and everyone's just there like hanging out, drinking, talking. I mean, I don't even think we were really watching it. We were watching it, but it was more about, you know, getting people together and like having fun.
So, TV show star, reality show star, you come back, and now it's time to light some fire under Warrior Chiropractic.
Yeah.
What next?
I mean, for me.
So what next? You go to the East Village, but now what I mean by what next? What did that do for your name?
Okay.
Your Twitter following, your Instagram following, people wanting to come see you, because now you work with athletes, you work with celebrities. Who's the most famous person you've ever worked on?
They make me sign NDAs, so I'm trying to think who.
What show were they on?
You know what? Somebody really famous I treated who didn't make me sign an NDA is Noah Schnapp, who is kid from Stranger Things. Will guy that gets kidnapped. He came here, was super nice. I met him through a friend, and he wanted to get adjusted. And you know, afterwards, his buddy who came with him was like, "Oh, you guys got to take a picture." So we took a picture right here, and I was like, "Hey, do you care if I like post it?" He's like, "No, man, post it up." I mean,
please don't post your 2 million
a
followers.
a lot of the celebrities I treat, they kind of want it to be between them and I, which I understand and respect it. So we know, I might go to their apartment, or they might come here on a Saturday. I mean, we figure it out so that they're not going to be, you know, running into people in the waiting room. But I think that I've been really blessed. I think that, you know, in a really big competitive place like New York City, getting my name out there to those people and like being the guy that everybody wants to see is, you know, I could have never, you know, that was the dream, right? Like a couple years ago, if you told me I'd be doing it, I would have said I believe you because I knew what I had in me, but I didn't know how long it would take or that I'd be doing it already, you know. But yeah, it's been fun.
I love that. Right now, what are you reading? Are you reading anything?
I like podcasts. I like business podcasts, and I'm an entrepreneur, and they don't teach you anything about business in chiropractic school. Like,
No.
I mean,
no, but that's a great thing about like books and podcasts now. So like I do audibles.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
being able to self-educate and during your commute, how do you get to work every morning?
take the RW
There we
straight from
go.
Battery
So
Park.
you take the
right?
RW.
Yeah.
So you're walking to the subway, you're taking the subway, you're coming up.
Yep.
Let's say it's 22 minutes.
Yeah.
Tops.
Yep.
The amount you're able to consume in that 45 minutes a day.
I mean, for me, like, you know, before I start my day, I like to listen to a little bit of educational stuff, but in 15 to 20 minute, you know, right? Like the days of me sitting there and like taking notes and, you know, I miss those days because I was like, I'm just consuming everything, but now like my time is much more like, you know, booked out. So, you know, there's a motivational guy, Ed Milet. I saw him speak in Vegas.
Ed Milet?
He was great. He was like, you know.
I think I started following him through you.
Yeah, I mean, I was this close to him, and he was like, you know, just a really cool dude. And I was like, you know what, I want to see this guy. So now I've been consuming his stuff a lot. Gary Vee, I know he's like, you know, like an old school guy, but he was like one of the first people I started listening to when I was going to go out on my own. So I still get really excited when he puts up stuff every day. And, you know, he's like a local guy, Jersey guy, and he's got like a cool attitude. Like I like looking up to people that I would want to spend time with,
How do you think Gary V's vibe, how do you think Gary V has impacted your life?
I think Gary Vee just, from the start taught me about, just making it about the customer and really just like empathy, like actually connecting with people. And like, you cannot teach that in school. You cannot teach empathy. You can't teach learning how to care about somebody. You have to actually do it. So when he talks about how empathy really creates good business owners, and I'm an empathetic person. Like for me, I do that naturally. So it's nice that it's reinforced, and it makes me feel like I'm doing, I'm in the right line of work, right? Like I work face to face with people. Some of them are suffering, some of them are in pain. A lot of them have a problem that they want me to solve. So I think being empathetic, it's not something that you can learn. It's just something that like you either have it or you don't. So when Gary Vee talks about how empathy helps in business, like I know I'm in the right career.
I love that. And reading Gary Vee's book and listening to Gary Vee, also my favorite book is Never Split the Difference, where Chris Voss talks about really honing in on empathy. And I like to kind of combine Chris Voss and Gary Vee into my my daily workings.
Yeah.
And it's fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, guys like that like change the game for people who are entrepreneurs that don't have a business background.
100%.
20 years ago you had to like go to school, get an MBA.
Right, because Gary, he really paints a picture that if you just work hard and you have passion, you can do anything.
Right. I think the other thing too for me is I preach this to my employees and the people that work under me. It's, not worrying about the long-term outcome. It's not getting stressed out about where you're going to be in a year, how you're going to get your full schedule. I give them goals to hit. And I really stress that if you just do the little things right every day, the big stuff takes care of itself. It's not about, this large plan, this big picture. Like, I'm a firm believer in just having a plan when you wake up for the day and just knowing what you want to accomplish that day. And it's okay if you don't get everything done, but if you have some sort of idea of what you want to get done in the short term, the big picture stuff, like when you take a step back and you look at where you're going, you're like, wow, I'm doing this. But getting up in the morning, I think a lot of people spend too much time worrying about making decisions. They don't just decide things. They just wait and wait and wait, and they wait for the right opportunity, and they worry, and they think about all the outcomes, and if I do this, how's it going to affect this? And like, it's good to like be nervous and stress out a little bit. It makes you hungry. But I think too many people spend more time wasted on not making a decision because they worry about making the wrong one. It's okay to make mistakes. Like, I make a mistake every day, and that's how I got where I'm at. So
we haven't touched on it, but I want to, what you just said, how does that mentality affect how you're going to raise Sebastian?
Yeah, being a father is the role of a lifetime. I mean, I certainly am learning a lot from him. It has made me a more patient person. It has made me, respect downtime, giving myself a break here and there, like not filling every minute of every day with something, because that free time I have when him and I are just aimlessly like hanging out is the best moment of the day. And, it goes by really fast. I mean, your son's not much younger than mine. And how fast, right? Like, it feels like yesterday we were both talking about being
dads. It's crazy. Sebastian's about to be 2.
Yeah. November. I know. And I remember when I told you I was going to be a father.
Yeah.
I remember what that felt like. I remember when he was born. And, I'll be honest, like, before I had a child, I didn't get it. I didn't get it. Like, I didn't want to be around other people's kids. Like, I wasn't like obsessed with being, like, I knew one day I wanted to be a father, but people would talk about like how great it was to be a dad or a mom, and I love being.
You're gonna feel this way. Yeah, like, don't tell me how I'm gonna feel.
Yeah, I'm like, all right,
don't
man,
tell
whatever.
me.
Like, you can't go out on the Friday night anymore, and like, like you can go to the gym anymore. Like, I looked at it as like a
challenge.
Yeah, like when you become a parent, like you have to like enter this next chapter of your life, and you give up like a lot of freedom and opportunity, and like a lot of like selfish things that you want to do are like you're no longer able to do it, right? Like, I can't just get on a plane and go to Ibiza this weekend. So like, I didn't get it. I was like, one day I'll be a cool dad, but like, I'm too selfish. Like, I'm too in what I'm doing right now to like worry about wanting to take care of somebody else. And now I'm a father. I'm like, holy shit. Like, I get it. Like, there is nothing like it. I mean, there's nothing that's going to compare to it. And I'll say that on this podcast, and guys and girls, people that don't have kids or don't want kids are going to hear that and be like, this fucking guy, like, shut up, man. Like, that was me, right? Like, I don't want to hear about your parenting woes and how special your kid is. Like, nobody cares. But when you do enter that role, I feel like everything I do now is to be a better father and like be able to create a life for him. That's all I really want now. You know?
I love it. I want to get a book recommendation out of you because I ask everybody to recommend the book.
Okay.
Is there anybody that, like, if you're mentoring somebody,
Yeah.
is there any book you say, hey, you should read this, it will change your life?
Yeah, here, let me
or
grab
was
it.
there a book that changed your life?
Let me grab it.
It's right here. By the way, there are 2 books on the shelf right here.
Yeah. So, Angela Duckworth is somebody that I also met in Vegas, and a friend of mine actually sent me her book because she had been following her for a really long time. And this is what I'm reading right now, and honestly, I think it is one of the better books I've read in my lifetime. It is very consumable. It's just kind of a fun way to talk about business and entrepreneurship, and it reinforces some of the stuff that I was saying before about just not sweating the big stuff, just really like accomplishing like little things every day, and making sure that like you don't lose the focus of why you got into it in the beginning and the things that you want to be proud of one day. I think that's somebody that like I immediately can look up to.
Amazing. Now, for me, for everybody, for Sebastian, give me one word of advice for anybody trying to make it.
Word of advice for somebody trying to make it. Let me think about this. When I first decided that I was going to become a business owner, I was going to do it for myself, I didn't have many people to look up to, like in a sense of like who is doing what I want to do. The people that were mentors to me, I had already worked for, and I left. Like I worked for them and I quit, right? So I can't call my old boss and be like, hey, like how did you open a business? Because it's like I'm not like their employee anymore. They're going to be like, screw up, so
You don't know you couldn't have called them.
I did, and we had those conversations, but there's certain things I was just like,
Right.
what, like I got to figure this out on my own. The biggest thing that I could preach to somebody who wants to start a business or really just accomplish anything is you have to have people in your life that are going to believe in you more than you believe in yourself. People that on your hardest days, when you want to quit, they look at you in a light that you don't even look at yourself in. Like you can go to them and feel like a failure, and they're going to remind you, you're crushing it. And it could be a parent, it could be a spouse, it could be a girlfriend, boyfriend, friend. I mean, you just have to have somebody that is going to be supportive of you no matter what. And, in the sense of like becoming a business owner, now that I am a business owner, you want to find people who are in the struggle with you. Find people that are going through what you're going through, connect with them, because I promise you that no problem is unique to your situation. You might feel like you're the only one going through this or with a hard day, but if you can connect with people who are also struggling in that same like grind mentality, you realize you're not alone. Like you realize that there is a tribe of people who are going through what you're going through, and that's so important for me as as a business owner and as a father and as a friend, like having people to look up to and just compare notes with. That is everything. Finding your tribe and finding your inner circle, and especially in New York City, like it's a huge place. So it's not about having a million friends and a million people to call. It's really about just finding a few good people that you can be honest about, with and struggle in front of, and just let them pick you up. That was good to see, man.
Damn, that was good. Dr. Johnny, you can find him on IG at Warrior Chiropractic or at Dr. Johnny.
Yeah, so my Instagram just at Dr. Johnny.
At Dr. Johnny.
Warrior.NYC is our
I'll
page.
tell you this, he's changed my life. Came into him years ago. This is after we were already homies. With a big shoulder issue, and
That's right, yeah.
he got rid of it. It was one of those things where he was talking about. I thought that I was going to have this injury in my hand for the rest of my life, and then a PT changed it. I thought I was going to have this shoulder issue for the rest of my life. He got rid of it.
Thanks, man.
Then we go no, actually it was about a year and a half before that. I couldn't bend down past like 90 degrees. I walked out of there feeling like $1 million. Cupping, when he introduced me to cupping, changed my life. And even to this day, like I come here probably once a month because I lift heavy, and at our age, injuries happen, injuries happen, and things pop up. So,
and I'm a big, the entire Warrior mindset is fixing things before they're broken, and really maintenance care and wellness care and like preventative stuff. before it is a painful, inflammatory process. Like getting you to be able to be the best version of yourself, whether you are in pain or not. Like the older you get, the more you get it. It's like you want to wake up and feel like your best. And if we can help you accomplish that, that's literally why I've gotten into this profession.
Which is why I stopped drinking. All right. Stay strong. And I'm happy we did this on 9/11. God bless America.
Yeah. Crazy timing, but